Well, hey, friends, thanks for joining us today in this episode 8 of the Cutting Room Floor podcast. We kind of took December off, so it's good to get back and hang out with you here. And as always, I've got with me Christian Nichols. So good to have you here. And I'm going to resist calling you doctor somehow. But I just did.
Good job.
I did anyway. So, yeah, we're glad, fresh out of the holidays, to catch up and to hang out with you guys. I do have, because we had such a great season. I know we didn't make the playoffs. Do you have a Bama mug that you? I know you have one, but not one on your desk.
I have one, but it's not here. Yeah, it's at the office. So,
well, it's not like we had a good showing anyway.
Not,
we lost to.
I'm not proud of our season.
Well, we're proud. We lost to BYU.
Like most fan bases, you are grateful that your team won, more games than they lost and at least looked decent. But the Alabama fan base is extraordinarily upset that we won 13 games, 12 games. What were we, like 12-3? 12-4?
It's just it's a different level of expectation in Alabama.
There's 100 football teams in this country that would love Alabama's record, but Alabama fans are just mad. Like, come on.
I get it.
Saban's gone.
It just happened in the NFL.
Back.
You take John Harbaugh, who, the guy's record there is amazing. He's won Super Bowls.
Yeah.
He's gone to AFC Championship games, and he has 1 8-9 season, and they fire him. Like, wow.
A kicker. One missed kick.
Yeah, there you go. It's short-term memory. I did find it funny on his front that you can't include Baltimore looking for a coach in this. So of the 6 other teams looking for a coach, he had 7 phone calls. That's for real. So there is a team out there who has not fired their coach yet that basically said, if you'll come here, we'll get rid of him.
Absolutely. Like, again, there are fan bases that would love to have their record.
Yeah. My guess is it's a team that's way down south. Way down south. We were like, you know what? We'll trade our guy in if you'll come down here.
I posted yesterday, like, fan bases don't understand that when a head coach is fired, like, that's a family that's uprooted. That's a career that changes. That's, kids have to move schools and friends. And it's not just cut and dry. I'm so happy our coach is fired. Like, I get it, but I just don't think people think about all of the repercussions of that, as it comes to the human side. And, but, I could think of 3 teams right now that would greatly benefit from John Harbaugh being their head coach. So,
yeah,
now, he probably won't take those jobs because they're terrible. But
no, yeah, someone was teasing me about Atlanta. I'm like, taking the Falcons is a fool's game. I just don't see
or
it.
the Cleveland Browns, you choose.
Well, I'd take the Falcons over the Browns. I think just the house cleaning they did at least sets them up to be a little better. But anyway, it is football season, guys, and I'm sorry if you don't like football. I know we're in Carolina, so college basketball is going on, and eventually there will be March Madness. I am one of the only guys in North Carolina. I literally could not care less about any form of basketball, be it high school, college,
I've never
NBA.
been a huge basketball guy myself, but Alabama is all of a sudden pretty decent at basketball. So I watch, I'll kind of keep up with Alabama. I'll watch, some of the bracket in March Madness. By the way, did you know, this is an interesting fact, did you know that the volume of vasectomies in America exponentially increase during March Madness?
What?
Yes.
What could possibly be the correlation between that?
Because they go have the procedure done and then they sit and watch basketball
just sit
for a
and
week.
watch.
Okay,
I see the connection now. Okay.
Listen, I know I am a researcher, right? And so I look for correlatories, yada yada yada. I don't even know how I know that fact.
Yeah,
I don't even know how I know that fact, honestly.
Yeah, I don't
But I
even
came
want
across
to.
it.
I don't even want you to think about how you know that.
Hey, well, welcome
But
to the
hey,
Cutting
I
Room
mean,
Podcast.
truth being told, I'm in my 50s. I could count on one hand the number of basketball games I've watched. Again, college, NBA, anything. Um, and it could be because I'm from Georgia and we've never been good at basketball. And it also could be I'm short. And so I don't care.
No, the Hawks had a good run for a while when they had Dominic Wilkins and
I do
Spud
remember that.
Webb and
I mean, I remember hearing there were Spud Webb and Dominic and all those guys, but I didn't watch them even then. I
hey, little known fact, Spud Webb went to Midland College in Midland, Texas.
did he really?
Mhm.
Hmm. I just care about sports where, a guy my size could actually play and play often. Like, so occasionally you'll see a running back in the NFL that, is my height. And then baseball, you see it kind of on the regular. There's always a shortstop or a second baseman that's, you know,
Mhm.
5'7", 5'8", and they're like getting it done out there, man.
Yeah. Listen, hey, I think Ronan's taller than you now.
He that's not a hard quest to do.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, I just realized when you said your height, I'm like, wait a minute. He was just at the doctor. We all came home from Indiana sick, so we've all been to the doctor since then, and and I think everyone in the Carolinas, the South, basically has something right now, whether it's the flu or just allergies or the cold or whatever. But
Yeah, like, if you're watching this somewhere else, it's bad here. I think they said South Carolina is the worst hit. I thought it was North Carolina. South Carolina's worse, North Carolina's second for the number of flu victims in hospitals. That's
yeah,
that's
terrible.
how they're kinda registering how bad it is, and,
That and the measles. Apparently, the measles have gotten loose over there in South Carolina. So,
more reasons to not to go to South Carolina,
huh, there's a couple of good
although,
stores
here
right
locally,
across the state
Costco
line.
built
There's a
an
couple of good
amazing
stores.
new store in South Carolina, so I do drive to South
Yeah,
Carolina now, to go to
good.
that
Get more
Costco
people
down
out of
there.
our Costco over here.
Well, the Costco down from your house is a madhouse.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The parking lot, and that is where, on a number of occasions, I've had, um, elderly retired men, not women, men, get really aggressive with me. I had one hit me with the cart because he didn't think I moved up fast enough in the line. I was like, the
Listen,
only
it's
thing
like Mario
stopping
Kart
me
in
is
the parking
going,
lot.
"Yeah, I will I'm not gonna hit people with my cart, but I will be your age soon enough, so, I'll a
Hey,
little
you
mercy."
you know what I know to be true about a grumpy old person?
What's that?
They were grumpy young.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
because there's equally as many really, really nice, elderly people.
yeah,
Um,
there's some sweet old people out there, man. I
yeah,
I hope
good and
I'm one of
kind.
those.
That's
I
the
wanna be a
goal.
sweet old person.
Yeah, that's the goal. And if you guys are watching, we're just kinda catching up with each other. I literally haven't seen Christian since, before the holidays, and so we're kinda catching up, and, you get to catch up with us. So speaking of which, you went to Indiana for Christmas,
Yeah.
so I'm absolutely confident that time with the brand new grandson was really good.
Yeah, listen, grandparenting is, uh you've heard people say, like, "If I knew grandparenting was this way, I would've skipped the kids," and, yeah, I mean, okay, I think I know what you're meaning, um but it is so different to see things through the eyes of grandparenting over parenting. It's I don't think it's better or worse, it's just very different, um, and I think, that you get all the positives of parenting, right? Like, you get all the cool stuff, but none of the negative. Like, I don't have to change diapers. I don't have to get up at 3 a.m. when the baby's hungry or sick or needs changing, or I just get to kinda do the cool stuff. So, so yeah, it was awesome, and he started crawling while we were up there. So, he's fully mobile now. His parents have been, we've told them, You're no longer in zone coverage. You're man to man now, right?
Yeah.
Like, where he moves, you have to move, because he is into anything and everything he can get his hands on, and we know when a baby can get his hands on it, the first place it goes is in his mouth.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
he's awesome, man. It was great. It was a
It,
great
it it's all
Christmas.
fun and games, and you have 3 kids, so you understand this too. You can play man-to-man coverage until you have 3, and then you gotta go back to
Mhm.
zone.
Yeah. Well, but hopefully here what our rule of thumb was we're not having another one until that one is out of diapers. So we never had more than one kid in diapers at a time.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I say we planned that. That's just kind of the way it worked out. But yeah, we knew we needed help. So what's good is by the time you get to the third one, hopefully the older one is old enough to kind of help out some. And so, but
Well,
we
you had that
ours
because
is
you had a
reversed.
girl. My oldest was a
Ours
boy,
is
he didn't
reversed
help
from
out at
yours.
all.
Yeah, ours is reversed. We had 2 girls, and then our boy was last, and he has been mamaed like nobody's business his life. He is spoiled rotten,
Yeah, no,
and
we
his
had 2
sisters.
boys and a girl, and neither boy helped out. I think once or twice, our oldest held Logan, our youngest, our daughter, and fed her a bottle. The only reason I know that is because I've seen some pictures. I don't really
Yeah.
remember
Yeah,
him
yeah.
actually. It like, he was just yeah, that's y'all's gig,
And
not
it's
mine.
it's weird that we now like, when you go to your grandparents' house for our generation, we go to your grandparents' house, you see pictures on the wall, and you see pictures around of people, all that, but, we're in a full digital culture now, and so, like, if my grandson Finn comes to my house when he gets older, there's not gonna be pictures on our wall of his first Christmas or first hunting trip or I'm gonna say, "Hey, let's get my phone and let's look through my phone, to see the pictures of you." It just that just occurred to me that what a wild thing to think about.
Well, and so Jody went through this, thing, and I appreciate that she did, printing out at least all of the digital pictures that matter. Because when you go over, like I said, you go over and visit. So I was just at my parents' house, early December. We didn't pull out phones and look at pictures, but my mom had some photo albums, and we did. We just pulled them out, and my daughter was with us, and she's like, "Hey, is this you? Is this?" Like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And there were some pictures of her, and so my wife started printing out some of those and creating photo albums. And I've noticed that at least my daughter is doing the same thing. She will physically print out
Mhm.
photos and then put them in
Yeah.
in albums and things. Because even that generation, like, they're not getting together and staring at a for a moment. If you take a picture, or hey, I was just on a
Right.
trip and let me show you these things, but not for any kind of nostalgic look back. No, they're not scrolling
Mm-mm.
through their phone either.
No, and generationally, they're again, like you said, they like my girls, they go print pictures out, and
Mhm.
I'm like, Can you still do that? Can you?" And apparently, you can like go to CVS or whatever, and
Yeah, yeah, my daughter goes to
you know,
any of those. She goes to Walgreens and just prints them
yeah.
out.
And so it's interesting how everything is secular. Everything in culture is secular, and um, yeah, this generation is kind of pushing back against a full digital life, and we could get into a million things that have nothing to do with this podcast in that.
Yeah, but
But
they're interesting
yeah, it is fascinating. It's
because my
fascinating
my
how
daughter is
people.
now, as she's approaching 23 and, starting a life and everything, there's chats of, like, children and all that kinda stuff. She's like, "Yeah, my kid's not gonna have a phone till they're, like, 15." And I'm like, "Yeah, good luck." But her reasoning behind it is she knows that thing is toxic.
Mhm.
When you ask her, she knows
They
it's
know.
toxic. And
Hey,
so
60% of Gen Zers wish social media was never invented.
I'm with them. I've said this over and over. I in a heartbeat, if we could go back in time and you said, "Hey, um, we are not going to create these things." I'm at the place where I'm like, "I'm in. Let's do it."
Mhm.
I don't like being reached. And if anything else, if we have to have a smartphone, 100% no social media. But, like, let's just, it has allowed humans, my opinion, I get my opinion. It has allowed humans to become worse,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
it's dehumanized us. It's
because
absolutely dehumanized us.
the thoughts that maybe used to be in our head, and we can argue Jesus would say it's just as bad for you to think that, and I do agree with him. But all of those moments and things that we would keep tucked in our head, we type on a keyboard and we
Yeah.
put them out there like they were
Uh-huh.
tucked in our head, and they're not. And then on top of that, I'm going to go on a bit of a rant. You have an algorithm, and every media out, every social media has its own algorithm, but they all favor outrage because it
Mhm.
gets attention. And so if you and hey, how was Christmas? And you share some pictures of your baby, that's never going to hit the algorithm.
Right.
But if you found some seedy, nasty thing about me as a pastor of a local church and you posted it, it would blow up overnight.
Mhm.
Until they change, and I say they're never going to change until government forces them to. Until they change that is not what we favor, that is not what we weight, that is not what we're going to do. You're always going to have election messes, you're going to have political arguments, religious arguments. It's just going to go on and on and on
I I
because that's the
I
only thing it pushes.
encourage everyone who has a device in your hand, go watch it's on Netflix, it's called The Social Dilemma.
Oh yeah,
Just go watch it. The people who invented this technology
they
says
know
to
exactly
you,
what they're doing.
"This is what we were trying to do."
Yep, they know exactly
Like,
what
they
they're
just
doing.
flat out say it. You
Mhm.
guys are doing exactly what we programmed this to do."
And
It's crazy.
not I don't wanna call them evil because I can't remember if all of them say this, but the majority say, "And we regret doing it."
Yes, almost every single one of them says that.
Like, "This is exactly what we set out to do, and we should
Mhm.
have never done it."
Yeah,
And
I mean, I don't think they didn't mean evil things, right? Like, they
mm-mm,
didn't
no.
but they programmed it to do a certain thing, thinking that that would be good when y anthropology has proven that that's not good for humans. Um,
Yeah. I mean, if we need any
you know
more evidence that human beings have a sin nature, meaning it's a chance to talk a little bit about Bible stuff, that you have something living in you that is alive, sin. Because sometimes we think of sin as a weird religious concept. In one of my discipleship groups, a guy named Austin said it this way, and I'm like, "Yeah, you're 100% on." He said that sounds like a virus or bacteria or something that we can't quite see and is going on. I'm like, "Yeah, you're 100% right. It's like a virus that is in you." When Paul talks about it, he talks about it as a living thing, not a concept.
yeah, mhm.
And so that thing has
Shout
the
out,
ability to
Austin.
control our thoughts. And if it can control our thoughts, it can control our actions. If you want any more evidence, just look at social media that we all have sin in us. Because
Yep,
you get down
yep,
to, why are you typing those words? Why are you trying to do what you're doing? Well, you're either trying to do it to get attention, pride, or you're trying to do it to tear someone down and cause harm. Both of which
mhm,
are sin. They're sinful actions. Sin is
yep,
controlling that. And yeah, when we talk about being a Christian, you got to rely on the Holy Spirit to push back on those things.
yeah. John
Mhm.
Ortberg says this, he says, "Sin is meeting a legitimate need in an illegitimate way."
There you go. Mhm.
Right? Like, I need to be loved, but then we seek it out in ways that aren't healthy, right? I need to
Yeah, I
be
mean, we see
known.
that everywhere with this generation and all the
Mhm,
sexual exploitation,
mhm,
men and women.
mhm.
They're seeking love and generally in the wrong ways. Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
hey,
it's
listen, if you need any more proof, just be around a baby. Like, you don't have to teach a baby to be selfish. You don't have to teach a baby to be loud. You don't have to teach a baby to, you know, be, want its own way. You have to teach it all those things that it doesn't do naturally. And so, yeah, if you've never believed in the human condition of sin, just be around a baby, and you'll figure it out real quick. We were born pretty set in our ways when it comes to that. So
Yeah, and then if you don't believe that, just wait till they grow up into teenagers, and you will know.
facts, facts.
Yeah, those of you that are dealing with 3rd and 4th graders, yeah, boy, I hope you have community around you.
Hmm.
Even the best of them, even the best of them. And I
Yeah,
had one
parenting
kid, I'm
is
not gonna say which one kid it was. I had one that was the best of them. Even that, whew, man, that was much.
yeah, parenting is not for the faint of heart.
No,
And then parenting adults. Oh my goodness, parenting adults is so difficult.
man, I've been having this conversation more and more lately, not just because that's the phase I'm in. I'm having it with people that are younger, but this idea, yeah, no one prepared me for having to parent my parents. And, um, my parents are, well in their 70s now, and, um, just some of it, you're like, the picture I still have of my parents is when they were, like, 45, and, now it's like, I'm over at my dad's house going, "Dad, is it really smart for you to be 12 feet up on a ladder?" Um, you know, 77 years old, like that. And then, he comes out and he goes, "Man," we had this conversation. He said, "I remember saying that to my dad." You know?
It's like those progressive commercials when you're becoming your parents.
Yeah. Yeah. But what I'm also seeing is, um, we've got younger people parenting their parents because they're more mature than their parents. I'm talking Gen Zers that are having to, like, teach their parents how to talk civilly, how to behave out in public. Like, wow, okay. You get into a bubble. All of us do. I mean, I have my own bubble, you have your bubble, and you think everybody thinks and acts like you, and what you do is acceptable because it's acceptable in your bubble. But when you go outside your bubble, um, you're just not aware of how off you are with other
Yeah.
people. And, you know, things that your group might tolerate, maybe even celebrate. There are other groups that abhor that. They're like, oh my gosh, like what in the world? And so that's kind of happening. I'm seeing that with some younger people and their parents, which their parents are my age. So yeah. Anyway, well, why don't we shift a little bit? We'll get into this topic of experiencing Jesus, and
Happy
that
2026. Here we go.
yeah, here we go. And um, and with that, I know your 2026 probably hasn't started the way, when Joey and I wound up with, like, something hit us straight in the face, right after Sunday's service. Nothing to do with church people or anything like that. It's just one of those oof. And now we got to walk through this or deal with this. And um, you know, t- the year starts. It just starts. We all have a fantasy about it's going to start great. And we also have the whatever the opposite of the fantasy is. We look and we think this year's just awful. And I think the truth is there's some awful moments and there's some good moments.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
you can waffle between the two and say, yeah, it was a pretty good year, or yeah, it was a pretty bad year. I mean, you can.
It's
I mean,
perspective.
you've been
I mean,
open and sharing, how your year and your last couple of years went, and when you're thinking about those things, you can frame it rightfully so as, man, this is a really bad year. But
hmm
your grandson was born last year too, and you got to
hmm
spend time with him. You start thinking about that, you go, man, 2025 was a pretty good year. I just think it really depends on where your thoughts are at the time. And I'm not saying good, bad, or anything. Like, I don't want us to ignore bad times. But the scripture does come to mind where isn't it Paul that tells us to whatever is good and righteous, and I forget all the things, but basically all the good
Philippians
stuff.
Philippians
Think,
4:8.
yeah. Can you actually quote that? Like, or you're
Whatever
better
is
than I am.
good, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good report, let your mind dwell on those things.
That's it. Think on these things. Um, that
Mhm.
is a
I
very,
quoted the
very
CNIV.
timely
That's the
verse. I mean, that whole idea, you could lift that right out of the first century and say
Mhm.
God wrote that in 2025. Like, hey,
Well,
I know it's
you know
really
what?
bad, but everything, once you think about the things that are good, things that are righteous, things that
I
bring
don't
joy.
think
Mm.
I don't think people understand that when you read the Bible, you need to read it as the people who first read it. Like Paul wrote letters to a specific group of people for a specific reason during a specific season and history point. Um, and so you think about the churches that Paul writes to, the churches in Thessalonica and Corinthians, the church at Ephesus, the church in Colossus, all those things. You have to remember that there was an empire, the Roman Empire, one was unraveling from the inside out. So it had all kinds of stuff going on, right? Just from a history perspective.
Mhm.
But then you have to realize that their number one problem, quote unquote, was this new cult called Christ followers, followers of the way. And later they would be called Christians at Antioch. But they were being there was a Roman emperor in maybe between like 40 and 60 AD, somewhere in there. There were several that did this, but there was a Roman emperor who said, "Oh, you guys are the light of the world. Well, then you'll light my garden." And so he would take Christians, impale them on these long poles, dip them in tar, and light them on fire while they're alive.
Well, I know Nero
Right?
did that. He's probably the
Yeah,
most famous for doing that.
Diocletian, Nero, like
Yeah.
there are
Yeah. Diocletian.
historical
Yeah.
documents that
Hmm.
document these things happening. And so when number one, Paul is writing from a jail cell,
Yeah.
right? Like he's in Roman captivity, probably about to be sentenced to death. And he writes, let it all be joy. He writes, like, let your mind dwell on these things. He right, and we miss that. Like we think persecution is, somebody doesn't say Merry Christmas to us when we check out. They say Happy Holidays. Oh, I'm being persecuted. No, you're not. You're not being persecuted. Being persecuted that's happening in like Asian countries right now. That's happening in Nigeria. I mean, I just read a report in Nigeria that they've been slaughtering Christians for months now. Just, I mean, like a genocide. Um, yeah. So, framing your life, I think we need to be really careful. Like a bad moment doesn't make a bad day. A bad day doesn't make a bad week. A bad week doesn't make a bad month. So on and so forth. And again, it's not excusing it. We have bad moments. Like we live in a Genesis 3 broken world that sucks sometimes. It just does. And then we make choices that suck sometimes. And all those things. And so I'm not saying, oh, don't none of that stuff's real or that's not a big problem, get over it. But what I am saying is that when you think about it, think about this. Yesterday, we were riding home from school. I picked my son up. He's 15. He's in 10th grade. And we're riding home from school, and they were talking about something in his civics class. And he said, Dad, I think anybody who's born and raised in the United States of America has one of the greatest privileges in history.
Yeah. True.
And I'm like, wow, like, you're right. We have it so good where we are, even if it's bad, right? Like, even if it's bad. Um, yeah.
Which is
So
why, and
it's
I know you've
perspective.
said this, I've said this. If you've not gone on a foreign mission trip to a third world country, let's be specific. Let's not send you to
Hmm.
Spain or France. If you've not gone to a third world country, then you have a hard time understanding what we're talking about. Where when you do, I don't know about you, when I do those trips and I come back here, there is an overwhelming sense of gratitude, and
Mhm.
I have a massive understanding of everything that you just said, how good we have it.
Yeah. I mean, Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and if you let's for comparison, poverty line in the United States of America is $10,000 a person, roughly. The average household income in Haiti is less than $900 a year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's 10 that's 10 times. And so, yeah, when
Yeah,
you
it's
think
hard to
about poverty.
comprehend. I've not been to Haiti. I've
Yeah.
been to the worst parts of the neighboring country on that island, the Dominican, working with Compassion International, where we went into some homes where their income was less than $40 a month. So close to
Mhm,
what you're saying.
mhm.
Um, and
Yeah,
uh,
you're not talking about Punta Cana. You're not talking about where the
no, no,
resorts
no, no,
are.
no, nowhere near those areas. Not the resort areas. Like the which is wild if you ever go to Santiago, which is their capital. Um, when you're near the capital, you'll think that you're in downtown Charlotte. There are some high rise buildings. There's an Outback Steakhouse. There's Chili's. There's all the things that you would expect in the U.S. You go 2 blocks back, and you will see shacks, literal shacks. You go 2 more blocks out, and you will see cardboard houses.
Mhm.
It is the weirdest experience. Um, Very much a haves and have nots, like we do not even understand. Um,
Yeah.
but
I spent 2 weeks in Ethiopia, and right outside the capital city of Addis Ababa, there it's the dump. Like, it's the waste center for the entire country, right? All of it, it's like that's where there's sanitation. It is a huge landfill, like, but there is a community in the dump, not outside the dump or around the dump or close to the dump. There is a community of people who live in the dump,
mm,
and most of them have leprosy.
yeah,
There's a leper colony there,
mm,
and you're talking about they know when a truck is coming from the five-star hotel out of the capital city. They know when that trash day is, and, like, there's a fight to get to that garbage bag when it hits the ground, kinda thing. Like, it's insane to think about, right? Like, when we again, my and I've said this, like, financially, this is the hardest place I've ever been in my life, and that's saying some stuff because we went to seminary, and you gotta be poor to go to seminary, I think. Um, but I'm sitting here on a MacBook in a, you know, 4 bedroom, 2 bath house, drinking coffee out of this mug, with $1,000 iPhone,
mhm,
right?
yeah,
And I'm like, "What? Wait a minute. What?" And again, I get it. Like, I have days, I have moments that I think, "Gosh, this is hard. Like, this is hard."
yeah. And I don't want to
And
deny that it is. Like it
yeah,
is.
right, right.
Like
But I'm not
it.
but I'm not at the Charlotte dump,
No,
right? Like, I'm not at a landfill to survive. Not yet. We'll see how quarter
no.
1
And
goes, but
one of the great things about our country, and I know it's popular to hate our country, no one's going to be. There's not going to be at that level entire communities rising up and being around. Like you're not going to see that here. We become a little bit immune to it because I think I can't remember if it was Andy Stanley who said this or someone. I was at a conference and they were talking about this idea that how we just ignore need, and it's easy to do now because we drive past it, we don't look at it.
Mhm.
We listen to the podcast, we come home, we don't even have to look at our neighbors and see what's going on. We open the garage door, we shut the garage door. We don't even have to look at the outside world.
Mhm.
Um, so that's not good either.
Right.
That's isolating ourselves.
Yeah, and so your perspective of the new year, so back to this new series that you just launched, it's like, okay, my life can be really good, can be really bad, whatever, 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 but if I'm going to really live life, I've got to experience life with Jesus, like,
Mhm,
not knowing about Jesus, not like, the Greek has, like, 5 words that can be used for the English word "know."
mhm.
So, I can know God, like, ethereally. Yeah, there's a God. I can know God intellectually, like, I study theology. But when you're living life in the dump, you begin to live life and know God experientially. Like, that's and I think most of us in America, most of us Christians, I am included, and I kinda have this perspective. We push back against, "I follow Jesus, life should be easy."
Yeah.
And we totally forget that Jesus was the suffering Savior, and that Romans tells us, Paul writes, that God's whole plan for our life is to conform us to the image of his Son. So if we're gonna look more like Jesus, talk more like Jesus, live more like Jesus, be more like Jesus, it will require suffering.
Yeah, I wanna say something on that because I think churches, we contribute to this by the only stories that we share are the ones where whatever, life has sucked, blah, blah, blah. I found Jesus and now life is great. And
Mhm.
I don't think we maliciously as churches do that. We share that because we get
Mm-mm.
excited for those stories. And so we share
Yeah.
those stories. There might be some that are like, no, no, that's good marketing to share that. We don't want to, share anything else. But I think we get excited, when we hear this story. So we share those. But there are far more stories sitting in the seats of people where God is real in their life, but the story hasn't really ended yet that way. Like
Yeah.
maybe it's still in process. It still sucks. Um,
Not everything
and
wraps up at the end of the episode.
no, no, and that's never the promise. The promise is no matter what you're going through, I will be with you. And
Yep.
um, yeah, I think at least I know in our church we try to share more and more of those that hey, God will be with you. Um, and yeah, this series, you brought up a couple of things. I do want to talk about that before we finish our podcast because I think the Christianity that I was handed and the Christianity that I went to Bible college to study and to learn, unintentionally maybe, was a Christianity of facts and figures, knowing.
Mhm.
So when I was in youth group, the one of the big things was this thing called Bible quiz, and they would call out a verse, and then you would have to complete the verse, or they'd say half the verse, and then you'd have to finish it and tell where it was at. Like the whole idea was basically to have as much of the Bible memorized as you could.
Mhm.
And while that's not terrible, guys, I'm not saying, but when that becomes the focus, then you know a lot of facts about God, but you didn't spend a whole lot of time getting to know God.
Right.
And thankfully, we have a generation rising up right now that is saying, we want to know God.
Mhm.
Now, the idea of facts and figures might get lost or co-opted, and that would be a bad thing because the enemy certainly will step in. If you do not have truth, he will step in with deception and deliver you a false Jesus that you're getting to know. But like I'm I'm having to relearn how to be a pastor right now. I planted churches, became a pastor, spent 30 years in ministry in an era where it was technically called the seeker sensitive area. But like there's we gotta put things in the way that they understand. We don't want to embarrass people. We don't want to, and that's still in me. I still don't want to do that. That's why you come to next level. There's not going to be a moment where everybody stands up and walks around and shakes the hands of the visitors in the room. Like, but things have shifted, and you I'd spent a lot of time in this, where a lead pastor was supposed to be the CEO of a business organization.
Mhm.
And so that's been my whole ministry experience. That's changed. And people want to experience God, and they want to experience their pastor as a pastor, like
Mhm.
praying for them, caring for them, knowing their story. And for the churches that are very, very large, that's going to be a dilemma. Like you're either going to have to train up a bunch of volunteer staff or get a bunch of staff to be their pastor because that's what they're going to be
Yeah.
looking for. I'm not saying
Mhm.
you can't be a church of 5,000 people. You can,
Yeah,
but the
sure.
expectation of knowing a pastor is still going to be there. Like people
Mhm.
are wanting to experience their faith. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
And
without a doubt. The
and
generation that's emerging are asking a different set of questions than my generation, our generation did. Um, they're not asking about Jesus. They're asking the question, what does it look like to really be Jesus in my job, in my family, in my friendships, in my hobbies, in my they've seen the ethereal again. The Greek word is gnosko. Gnosko is experiencing. Like I have an experience with God. Gnosko. That there's another one. One of the five is oida, and oida is like, I know a God. I know a God. I know there is a God. I know capital G God, right? That
mhm.
must exist or not, according to others. And and yeah, this generation is the Gnosko. Like they're tired of it less. We are no longer dispensers of information, right?
Oh yeah.
Like when you and I stand on a stage and share a message, people can fact check us immediately, right there.
Mhm.
Boom.
Yeah.
And which always makes me nervous when I'm doing Greek stuff. Because we have a Greek teacher
Yeah.
sitting in the audience, and I'm like, shout out. And so both of them have gotten a shout out on this podcast today.
Yeah, I know, right?
But yeah, so we're no longer the dispensers of information. We now are tour guides, helping people experience a journey with Jesus, which really is this is not a new thing. This is a return to the way this thing was supposed to be from the get go, right? They didn't even have the Bible when the first Christians were Christians. They had experiences with people. They moved from village to village and town to town. They met. They broke. Once a week they came together and was like, "So what have you learned about living through Jesus this week?" They didn't look at the 10 points of Romans chapter 5.
Mhm.
They didn't have that. They
Yeah.
literally were like, "What? Who was Jesus to you this week? What?" And even and this is kind of a rant, but honestly, only in the last couple of centuries has church been about a sermon. Like historically, church, the ecclesia, the gathering was around a meal. It was around what we call the Lord's Supper, communion,
Mhm.
and that was the church service. And then everything else was just conversation about what that looked like for the week.
Which is
Um,
still true if you go to a Catholic church or an Episcopal church, it still centers
yeah,
around
there's still some expressions of that,
the
sure.
the Lord's Supper, so, yeah, there is a homily, yeah, there is, all these prayers. The sacred thing in their service still is a meal. It's the
Mhm,
Lord's
mhm,
Supper. Yeah.
yeah. So again, this isn't a new thing that this generation is returning to. But it's a react again. We've talked about this. Things are secular, and what has happened is, a generation has watched our generation not do well. They have watched CEO pastor after CEO pastor fail, both publicly and privately. They have unmet expectations about their faith experience. And so because they're powerful, younger generations have been handed more power over the years, right? Like multi-billion-dollar ad campaigns focus on kids now. That didn't happen 30 years ago. That they wanted the parents. But now they go, no, no, no. We'll get social dilemma. We'll get them when they're 6. At
Mhm.
6 years old, they're going to want a device, and then we got them. We got them from then on because that device they're going to have to be replaced with another device, with another device, with another device.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole thing. Like they're pushing back against. It's not that they don't use technology, right? Like that's not. They're they're kind of enslaved. Like they have to use technology now. There's no way around it. You have to. But I think in the other sectors of their life, they're going, wait a minute, this does not feel human. This does not feel real. This does not feel, people are like, well, you use AI for a lot of stuff. That's great, but we still need humans. Like AI cannot be a human. I don't care how smart it is. It
Yeah.
can't feel and breathe and it can't. It can't do it. And so you're going to see more and more that the question that we're asking and answering in this series, this is not about, oh, I'm going to make a resolution to read through the Bible this year. You know what? If you want to read through the Bible this year, awesome.
Mhm.
More power to you. Bible, YouVersion, there's all kinds of stuff. The McShane Bible. If I were going to do a year through the Bible, I would do the McShane, which is like McChynne. He was a European guy, but I don't. Because to me, you get to reading Genesis, but when you hit Leviticus, it's like, because you have no
Yeah.
context. Like you don't understand the arc, the narrative arc of because again, we want to experience the story. We want to understand. That's why we watch Netflix. That's why we binge watch. That's why we want to understand the arc of the story. And this generation is refusing to participate in a faith that is not narratively driven, experiential. I want to be in the story.
Yeah. And so, um, related but not directly related to the message series, I think I shared this with you yesterday. I'm kind of developing a bit of a theological framework.
Mhm.
I'm calling it a gospel theology for the current generation. And one of those items was, okay, we need to define faith. And because to me, faith was, we would say it's a decision, based on facts or something. And so the way that I currently define faith, and I had to write it in this document, faith is a decision to trust in what is true. All right. So there is a bit of knowledge, and there's this aspect. Okay, I'm going to trust that that's true. I'm going to trust what's true, but you don't leave it there. And I think this is where it gets marked off. And then organize your life around it.
Mhm.
That's the experience. That is the action. It's like, I'm not just going to believe that Jesus Christ is Lord. That we used to just stop there. You know what faith is? Believing that Jesus came, died for our sins, raised for the dead, and we'd put that into our prayers that people pray. Hey, you just need
Mhm.
to believe these things, blah, 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 blah.
Admit, believe, confess.
But it's not complete. Faith is that, and then organizing your life around that being true.
Mhm.
Because when you do that, now you got to experience something. Now you got to walk something out. Now, oh wait, if I do believe that God is love, and I do believe that He has called us to love our brother and our sister, and I've got to organize my life around that, that will be
Mhm.
life altering.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why, there's a very popular vein, and this is not negative, by the way. I think this is a good thing. But there's a popular vein of the church right now, particularly out kind of the Northwest, that is returning to more of an ancient faith practice. And there's a lot of things in that, but one of the things that's crucial in that is what they call um, a rule of life, right? The ancient desert fathers, these guys who tried to leave the world and figure out what it looked like to follow Jesus and then move back into it in a healthy way. Um, like the monks, right? If you've followed I think they're in Charlotte this week or maybe at the end of this week. But the monks are walking across the country. Why?
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah. The
they're
Buddhist
typically
monks.
in hiding. They're
Yep,
typically in hiding,
yep.
right? They withdraw. But they said when the chaos of the world gets out of control, we come out. And that's saying that to say that this ancient practice that a pretty large vein of Christians in America are following after is returning to that kind of ancient rule of life where you take it's not just a faith principle, I order my life around it. I make
Mhm.
I make decisions like buying house or car or where I go out to eat or how many children we have, what career I take. All of that is determined not by opportunity or even dreaming of it. It is determined by what I have said I'm going to do in my faith. Like,
Mhm.
I'm going to arrange my life around this concept of following Jesus. Radical.
100%. I'm talking with a young family in their 20s. This is that's the direction they're going down. They are making purchasing decisions. They are making job decisions. They are everything that they are doing, they're doing based on living out their faith.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I
If you don't order your life around it, it's not going to happen.
well, and it's
It's
why
why.
they have peace and a lot of their contemporaries and
Mhm.
including their older family around them don't.
Yeah.
Even the ones who call themselves Christians. Like
Yeah.
part of the reason for this series is if you don't experience Jesus, you're never going to have peace that passes all understanding. You're never going to have l- the life that Jesus promised, life to the full, a rich and satisfying life. Because the first half of that verse, there's an enemy who is out to seek, kill, and destroy. And
Yep. We've talked
it
about
doesn't
that
matter.
before.
Just calling yourself a Christian, being a Christian, doesn't make you immune to what the enemy is after. How you get around that is experiencing Jesus, where Jesus comes in and says, "Hey, um, I'll give you a practical one. My wife, uh, last week, she just had this thing. Said, "Hey, she has a therapist that uses prayer as therapy,
Mhm.
and just somewhere the Holy Spirit said, "Hey, you need to book the first available appointment for next week."
Mm.
So she does. Well, over the weekend, boom, hit with something that was, okay, wow, and she had that appointment on Monday morning. Like that is what it's like to walk with Jesus. And I so much here at Next Level, I want you to know Jesus, but I want you to know him in the experiential way.
Yep.
Because if you will
Gnosko.
know him in the experiential way, you'll be drawn into the scriptures.
Yep. Yeah. And by the
Yeah,
way, that's what the Bible was written for.
yeah,
I know we have these little quips and colloquialisms about the Bible. It's the roadmap to life, and it answers all your questions. And which, by the way, neither one of those are true. Um, but what the Bible was meant, and still is meant to do, is to show us the story of God and how He has included us in that story. What is our part of it? Not people say the Bible's about humans. It's not. The Bible is not about human beings. We are a side character in the story. I mean, an important, right? Like we're an important. I'm not saying again, I have a high anthropology, so I'm not devaluing humans at all. I'm just saying that the Bible is not about the human experience. It's about God and then what we need to do in our life to experience that. Um, Henry Blackaby said in his like famous study, Experiencing God, he said, see where God is moving and then make adjustments in your life to join him there. Now,
hmm
what we do in westernized 21st century Christianity is we say, God, I want to do this, come bless it. But that's not how God operates. God is always moving and working for eternity, for the kingdom, and he wants us to see it and go, I want to be part of that. Like I want some of that. And then make the necessary choices and adjustments to make that happen. It's the same with New Year's resolutions, right? Why do resolutions fail? Because we're resolution heavy and discipline light in our
yeah,
culture. Like we have these big dreams. We've been told to be hag, big, hairy, audacious, that's just keep on. But if you don't have the discipline to do it, which by the way, discipline is not inherent to us. You have to learn discipline.
yeah.
And
And
that's
what
where
I'll
you.
say around that, two of the biggest health related things that I've been able to do, um, wasn't because I dreamed it up. Now it was something that I wanted to do, and here's what I did with it. God, I want to do X. but I'm not even going to attempt it until you work with me. And I prayed that prayer probably for about 6 months. And then one day I just woke up, and it was around certain eating things and stuff like that. I just woke up one day and said, I think today's the day.
Mm.
And I haven't looked back.
If you
But
if you
because
ever
I
hear a
didn't
voice
do
that
it.
if you ever hear a voice that says don't eat boudin, that is not Jesus.
Exactly. No, no,
That's
no,
the
no. There was
enemy.
just some other things that were in my life, and like
Uh,
I knew willpower was not going to be able to accomplish it.
yeah, we can't will our way into nothing
But if the
but
Holy
trouble.
Spirit comes in and changes something inside of me,
Mm-hmm.
then I can do it. And that was the way I prayed. Again, it's an experiential way to change my life. Like, God, I need to make this change. I have no power in me to make this change. But you know what? If your Holy Spirit will give me the desire or take the desire away or whatever, if you will empower me to make this change, then I know I can. You can
Yep.
make that your prayer for months,
Mhm.
if years if you have to. But when the Holy Spirit does that in you, dude, you'll be able to walk away. You can walk away. So like experiencing Jesus is vitally important because we hear stories, you hear stories, I hear stories. Somebody walks away from their faith. Generally, I wouldn't say it's always. Generally, it's because they don't experience Jesus.
They
They had a head
they're walking away
knowledge.
from a version. They're walking away from a version of faith that's not commensurate,
Yeah,
right?
they're
Like
walking
they
away with something that said, "Hey, you need to memorize these verses," and gave you a routine,
you know,
and said, "Just
behave this
now
way.
be a good little boy or a good little girl, and do the routine. Change the way you behave, change the way you look, change the way you dress." They walk away from that. Um, if you experience Jesus the way I've experienced Jesus, it would be hard to walk away. Like you could, but it would be like being in a fight with your wife. Like, you can walk away for a little while, but then you're like, "I really do love my wife."
Mhm.
And so I do need to come back and apologize. I do need to come
Yep.
back and say I'm sorry because I don't wanna live without that experience. So it's, I if you have that, you it's hard to walk away. I'm not saying it's impossible. I mean, we have free will. We can do what we want. The enemy can get in and twist and lie, and we can begin to believe lies and live those lies to where we're deceived and we deceived ourselves. That can still happen. Beware.
Mhm.
But it's harder than if your whole faith experience was built on some prayer that you prayed when you were 13 years old, and you were told that these were magic words and you were supposed to have some feeling, but they never taught you how to experience the person that you're praying to. It's
Right.
easy to walk away from that. And that's
Mhm.
in Next Level Church, we almost every person walked through our doors is coming back from walking away from that. So I I get it. And this is why this series, so I mean, we talked about this idea of just experiencing Jesus on Sunday. And if you haven't watched the episode, we did an exercise together. That's an exercise you can do any
Yeah.
place, any
Very
point,
good.
anytime. And it's really important to slow down. It's all about slowing down. If you hear something, great. If you don't, fine. Slow down and just getting yourself in a posture. I'm slowing down. I've slowed my mind down. It's in those moments that God can talk. There's no guarantee that he will. Or I should say this, God is always talking. There's no guarantee that you're going to hear him.
Mhm.
So, and then this week, we're going to talk about, this is right down your alley. I know you love this one. We're going to talk about rest for your soul. We're
Mhm.
going to talk, like,
Sabbath.
what does that mean? Well, a lot of the same stuff, except now we're going to apply it differently. There's a slowing down, but now instead of talking about awareness, now we're going to talk about how do I get rest for my soul? And so if you're around on this Sunday, or if not, you can watch it on YouTube. I tell you, it won't be the same because we're going to do an exercise together. And there's just something about doing and praying in that way together and knowing that there's hundreds of people in a room praying that
Yep.
with you. Yeah, so I would say be here. So
No doubt.
anyway, hey man, I appreciate your time. I know you got
Yeah, absolutely.
coaching call. You know, I love what you're doing for the kingdom. I love what you do for people, man. And we were in a planning session yesterday. I love what you're doing and going to do here at Next Level.
It's fun.
We figure out how to steward all of this stuff that God has given us here,
Yeah, again,
and do it well.
see where he's working and make adjustments. That's what we're doing. So
I feel like that's all we're like, adjust. But yeah, I appreciate you, friend. So for everybody who's watching us, man, we'd love to see you on Sunday. And until now and then, do that exercise. Just slow down. Just figure out what it's like to be aware. Slow down, be aware, and we'll see you on Sunday. Later. Thanks, man. See you.